Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see everyone here. So I think we have about half an hour where we'll talk about something which we see catching on as a trend and becoming a lot more popular over the last couple of years, which is this entire thesis around house of brands, right? As brands, as they start scaling, and given that India is such a diverse, heterogeneous market, how do brands look at their proposition, and when do they decide that yes, I will hit a certain ceiling here, and now for me to go forward, I need to have more brands in my kitty. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and you guys have done it all and doing it all very successfully, and then within that explore some nuances, like how does online, offline play? How do you build an organization that is able to do justice to each brand, at the same time leverage the central sort of forces that are, and then a couple of other discussions along the way, right? So I have a set of questions and I'll ask you guys, but feel free to stop each other, disagree with each other, and let's looking forward to the conversation, right? So Satish, let me start with you. So you guys have a very wide portfolio of brands like Highlander, Tokyo Talkies, Ketch, and you also talk to Gen Alpha, Gen Z, millennials, so it's also very diverse. Tell me, what was the moment when you guys decided to go multi-brand instead of doubling down on one brand?
Thanks. Very interesting question, and our journey is actually very different from other house of brands or people who decide to start building a portfolio of brands. We were born as a house of brands. So when we started, and this was really the time when marketplaces were picking up in a very big way, and we knew that is really one of the quickest ways to capture the market. And but we saw that there are different areas, right? There is a menswear casual, there is women's western wear, and there is women's ethnic wear, and all of these have significant brand gaps. Right. And at a certain affordable price point. So this was our thesis, and we started with 3 brands. We started with the Highlander, we started with Tokyo Talkies, and we started with Vishuddh, which is our ethnic wear brand. So all 3, and we quickly rose to be the largest brands on marketplaces. It was barely maybe a year or 2 before we built scale, right? And then we were growing about 80-85% CAGR. So building a house of brands really is what exactly is your vision, right? Our vision was to reach our consumer, be it male, female, Western wear or Indian wear, wherever they are. And that was the reason why we launched these brands on marketplaces, and subsequently we launched our own D2C website called getketch.com, and then we launched offline stores for Highlander and Tokyo Talkies. So and then we allowed a lot of our expertise. So our core expertise is really product, right? Understanding raw material, building a very, very coherent and nimble supply chain. These are really our core expertise, and we leverage this to help us build economies of scale across. Like for example, if you take jeans, menswear has jeans, women's wear has jeans. Both of them use stretch jeans, stretch denim. So we were able to source 2x the quantity we would have if we were only one brand, right? So in these ways, and maybe like basic fabrics like a poplin or a cambric, we're able to source for multiple brands. So amazing economy of scale, and also you can balance out your supply chain very well.
Thank you very much. Question to anybody on the panel. In a multi-brand strategy, how do you decide which categories to enter versus which categories to ignore?
Can I take that? Yeah, again, it's with the brand's vision, right? For us, because we were from the apparel background, we started with apparel, but then we also branched out into footwear over a period of time. Again, it depends on whether you have a market fit. Previously, Mr. Anant was also saying, is the market there for your product? What is that scale? Where is the headroom? And then do those categories align with your brand? Or do certain brands or certain categories need a unique brand, for example? If that is the case, let's say a brand doesn't lend itself to perfumes, right? So you instead of building an extension, you launch a new brand because you have the opportunity in that space.
Got it. So Ankit, question for you. So you guys supply high-end international beauty and hair care brands like Kevin Murphy, Olaplex, of course, to salon spas. All of these elevate the salon experience. With a family of brands in your portfolio, how do you ensure that each brand has a distinct and non-overlapping positioning?
Okay, so we've been doing distribution as a family for 3 generations now. Started with FMCG and moved to other categories before we kind of finally struck where I've found my real love, which is hair care. And we've built some of the biggest brands in India like Olaplex, Kevin Murphy, Aveda from the Estee Lauder group.
Right.
So when we were doing distribution, now we're focused more on our own brand, which is 310X, which is our own hair care brand. But to answer your question, when we were doing distribution and when we do distribution, you always look at complementing portfolios, not conflicting, because that confuses your customer as well as the team. So we've always had a multi-brand strategy where each kind of product complemented the other in its own way. So it wasn't really conflicting.
Got it. And that becomes easier for you to differentiate, sell, so the GTM becomes a lot cleaner.
Correct. And then there's also price points. So for example, we work with certain brands which have a certain price point, and then other brands have another price point. So then you're also catering to different consumers that come to the same salon, or different consumers that go to the same Sephora or Nykaa retail store or shop online. So you kind of provide the best of all worlds, to consumers that have different price positionings, etc.
Well, I must say, I think your beard is the most impressively groomed beard I've seen in a very long time. So what is the product that you use on your beard and hair?
Okay, so I don't use any products for my beard, but we are in the process of testing something under the 310X brand, which is what I'm using right now. So it's not a brand that I'm using, but my own samples that we're kind of, because we're looking at launching a 310X men's range very soon. So we're just in that mode. But in all honesty, it's not only the product, right? It's also the hairdressers that you go to. So, talking of house of brands, I think when we talk of house of brands, we should also look at what channels are we looking at, because everything is very linked, and then today's time it's more important to trust, right? Which is when you have the right product and you have in the right channel, that's when the real magic happens.
Right. So to bring the AI angle in, obviously if you have a house of brands on one end, that is supply, you have several points of demand on the other end, which could be retail channels, offline stores, online marketplaces. One big disruption that AI can bring is personalization at scale and at better costs, right? For a company that has a house of brand strategy, what do you think are some of the absolute non-negotiable AI use cases that they should adopt?
So we have seen AI personalization can definitely be done by using or generating a lot of content and personalization content based upon your specific demographics and interest. So if you are selling, for example, luxury watches versus you are selling perfumes, okay, and from that 500 rupees perfume to $5,000 perfume, okay, so all dynamics get changed to which city you want to target, what sort of demography you want to target, what age group which will that actually matters. So in that personalization, your ads is the main key. Okay,
the content.
So, yes, the content is the key. What type of model you are showing, what you are speaking, what sort of words you are using. And coming from my background, we are like D2C enablers. We help a lot of brand to use and refine all these demographies and make their content so refined so it actually reaches the right audience. Okay, and at the right time also, because kind of CEO person is not available on 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. He will be available on 9 p.m. Okay, so the kind of audience, at what time they are available. So brands should spend very wisely their budgets and scale their campaigns with the right sort of content.
Right. I think Meta and Google have been telling a lot of our brands, digital first brands, that you now leave the targeting to us, right? Don't try to build capabilities around that. Our algos can take care of it, but you build really strong capabilities in content velocity. So earlier, if you were giving me 5 pieces of content, now give me 100 pieces of content.
Exactly. So
Right.
A/B testing is the key. Okay, you
Experiment.
can't rely on one ad. Okay, that days are gone. कि Maggie का एक ही ad चल रहा है and you are done with that production. You have to create 1,000 of ads could be a possibility. So I was working with a brand. They generate approximately 500 ads per month. And they have to stop 400 ads because only 80 to 100 ads the performing ads. So A/B testing is the key. Yes, targeting is kind of gone because
Yes,
these
yes.
channels have taken lot of personalization and all these data point insight in themselves.
Themselves, yes. Got it.
Okay, so yes, personalization will come from the content key itself.
Got it. I think Satish, as a house of brands, and I'm sure there'll be many more brands in your house going forward. What is the decision point where you decide whether you build from scratch, or you acquire, or you incubate internally, or you license out? How do you decide which approach to take? And is there an ideal mix for you to work towards?
Interesting question, because it's very dynamic, and it also depends on the DNA of each organization. For example, we are a very DIY organization. We like to build everything ourselves. Whether it is we gain the expertise and build it. That's how we've always functioned. So again, if your DNA is a more brand-oriented DNA, right? If you're thinking from that point of view, then maybe you will look at acquiring, or you will look at incubating. But if you're a product-led business like ours, or a mindset rather, product-led mindset like ours, then you would look at creating from scratch.